Are we on?
Ready.
Is it safe?
What's this? What's that mean?
Let me see what this. It's still preparing it. Let's just make sure the audio's okay. Yeah, it started recording now, so we're off. So here we are at Speaker's Corner once again. Well, Marble Arch actually, and there's some Speaker's Corner people hanging around here. But everyone who's gone into the park so far has indicated that police are threatening to arrest people and driving people out. And so there's several people who that's happened to. And I want to really test and find out what's happening by asking the police politely what exactly is going on today. And I also would like to ask them about whether they've seen the assault carried out by 3 police officers against Nicholas Scholes last week, who's been speaking at Speaker's Corner for as long as I have, 35 years or so, and who was brutally arrested last week without any charge, without any engagement, without anything. It was clearly a criminal assault by people dressed in uniform. And I will be lodging a complaint to the independent police commissioners, and I'm quite happy to back Nicholas up in court. We've got plenty of evidence. I think the police must pay him massive compensation for that assault. In any case, I'm going to go over to Speaker's Corner in a short while. I'll just tell people here what's going on. It seems to be the case that the police seem to think it's fine for us to stand over here. For some reason, we're not allowed in Hyde Park at Speaker's Corner, which is the most weird thing. So, and over here we seem to be beginning to use megaphones and things like that. I really don't understand the logic behind all this. And I think that's what we need to clarify, Is it something logical, or is it something being aimed at destroying our rights, specifically our right to gather in Hyde Park and Speaker's Corner? Just quickly.
Just want to say a few words about what's happening here today. Why some of us are here. At Speaker's Corner, we've had the right to speak at Speaker's Corner since 1872. And over a number of months, the police have used coronavirus laws as an excuse to try and shut down free speech. And that's what it means, because we're not talking about one person's view or another. We have Christians, we have Muslim, we have Shia, we have Sunni, we have Mennonites, we have Catholics, we have born-again Christians, Pentecostals, Marxists, anarchists, pro-Israel, anti-Israel, Palestinian, anti-Palestinian, and so on. So we are the voice of the people with different views and different opinions. And Great Britain, when their governments go around the world and their embassies represent themselves around the world, they say, Speaker's Corner proves we're a democracy. But in the last few months, the government, or better said, some people in the police, have taken it upon themselves to try to close down Speaker's Corner and the right to free speech, at a time when no public discussion is able to take place without people being arrested and detained without charge, like a Chilean or South African dictatorship. Last week, for example, Nicholas Scholes was arrested in Hyde Park. When he was arrested in Hyde Park, it was a direct criminal assault by 3 people dressed as police officers, violently assaulting a regular speaker at Speaker's Corner. And we will take them to court. We will get them tried for battery, assault, and criminal arrest. So if they think they're going to get away with this, they've got another thing coming. We got loads of video footage of what they did last week. They were chasing me and then grabbed the first person they could possibly grab, handcuffed him, although he's mentally ill, and pushed him against a fence for about 10 minutes, then dragged him by his arms, and you could see the distress and pain on his face when he was shoved into the van. These are criminal, violent actions by a police force that is totally and absolutely out of control. And for that reason, I will be going over now to the police once again and requesting to know exactly what they are up to at Speaker's Corner, and whether they have taken away the right to speak at Speaker's Corner, and under what legislative framework they have done so. Last week I said I'm happy for people to gather 2 meters apart. That was the police officer's complaint. When people tried to gather 2 meters apart, the police officer tried to arrest me. He was clearly hyped up. I don't know what his mental problem is, but he has some sort of mental problem, and he felt that he had to arrest somebody. That is not how democracy works. That is not how policing works in a so-called liberal democracy. Policing must be based on some form of legislative framework and on some form of consent. Simply arresting people is the hallmark of a police dictatorship. And that is where we have ended up now, under the new coronavirus legislation, under a de facto police dictatorship, where we have no right to protest, no right to complain, no right to disagree, and where any arbitrary imposition of power can be made by any police officer in the land, without regard for any legal framework. That is why I am opposed to the corona dictatorship they're imposing. It has nothing to do with health. There is no evidence from anywhere in the world, from Black Lives Matter protests, from street protests in Bolivia, from street protests in Lebanon, from the general strike in India 2 weeks ago, with 250 million people marching on the streets, or from the anti-lockdown protests all around the world. There is no evidence of the transmission of one single case of coronavirus in the open air on those demonstrations. Given that the government knows this, and that's why they say you can go out in the open air, given that they know you cannot catch it easily in the open air, and it's never been caught on demonstrations, why are they afraid to allow us to demonstrate? In case we find out who's stolen the money, who stole the money that's been given out in the name of coronavirus, which tech companies, which pharmaceutical companies, which testing companies, which police surveillance companies, which of them have made money out of coronavirus, and how many of them are directly tied to the government, to the links between the government, SAGE, the so-called scientific committee, and also between National Health Service providers, privateers, who've been plundering the NHS and destroying the NHS in front of our eyes in the name of fighting coronavirus. Every single day we are told more and more lies. The latest lie is that there is some mutant strain going around, and that's more deadly and more serious than anything else in the world. It is a lie. More people die. 2 million children a year nearly die of pneumonia, under 5 years of age, tuberculosis, 1.5 million, malaria, 495,000, AIDS, an extra million deaths are expected this year from AIDS because of the lack of treatment, because of the way in which the health services around the world have been decimated, destroyed and closed in the name of fighting coronavirus. This is not about coronavirus. This is about the imposition of dictatorial powers by insane technology companies and pharma companies who have seized control over the politics of the world and are pushing us towards a dystopia where we've already spent nearly a year alienated from each other, unable to hug, kiss, show friendship and love to our family and others. This is a world of insanity. There was no grounds to close down Christmas. There was no grounds to close down New Year. There was no grounds to close down even the Notting Hill Carnival. As I said, no evidence for catching the virus in the open air on demonstrations, protests or events. No evidence. We are supposed to have a policy driven by evidence, but we do not. We have policy driven by lies and by liars. And that's why I'm going to go over and confront the police now.
Hi sir, nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Is there any line of support that you know?
We have a website that covers everything. You can email me from there, yes? SantaRebellion.com. It's insane. It's totally insane. So SantaRebellion.com. Of course, you can find most of the information. How you doing, Todd? SantaRebellion.com.
They pulled back the van.
I saw them a minute ago, so let's see what they're going to do.
They're gonna come back for you, man. You be careful. Don't let them catch you.
I'll try not to.
You're gonna arrest
I don't want to get arrested. Why should I get arrested? It's no fun.
I mean,
But
they don't. At this point, they don't even give a reason.
look what they did to Nicholas last week.
Oh yeah, because he called the policewoman fat.
So you can lose his election.
And in your fat belly.
Classical speaker's corner. Santa.
So stupid. Just so dumb. They don't even try to get you with excuses.
Not that shy, they just
And they approached him from behind. They snapped on him. Just handcuffed him.
I mean, he didn't even know why he arrested him. I think he was just so hyped up. A lot of places that don't work, they just show.
It's so weird.
Straight ahead.
Hi, Heiko.
How you doing, alright? Van's gone. The van has gone.
Yeah, sure.
Got a van there.
I can't see a van.
Got a van. No, there's a van there. If they have to turn around, it's a little bit safer. Maybe go around that way. Just so careful turn around.
We gotta bring more people than fit in the van.
Well, that's true. If you're prepared to, that's fine.
Just
If
get
you're
to find
prepared
more
to,
vans.
several people, what we should do is we should chain ourselves together and let them arrest all of us.
I can volunteer to get arrested. I never got arrested.
Good, okay. We'd all
First
be
time for
pleased
everything.
to see that. I'm sure that would make great television. You can do it if you like.
Oh, please no.
Well, I thought someone should come along who goes to one of these
And I'm gonna make fun of the boss so
sadomasochism
that
clubs
it
and like
looks
get
like
ready,
you're perfectly
hand themselves in, you know.
You're making it hidden.
I mean, we can go and talk to them first of all, can't we? And then we can see what happens after that. They shouldn't just arrest without discussing.
We
it at all.
socially distance. They should.
Well, I would do that.
Yeah. They've seen us.
It's like a shark.
Yeah.
Spartans, prepare for glory! Oh, oh, oh!
How are you? I'm Sergeant Clavin. What? Sergeant Clavin. How are you? Yeah, certainly. How are you?
I don't want anyone within 2 metres of me, please. In fact, what I've done today, I hope you approve of this, because as I understand it, the Mayor of London stated on the 18th of December that Speaker's Corner is permitted, even during lockdown.
No, it's not, sir.
The Mayor of London said it. You disagree with? You're superior to him, are you?
So we're not going to get into this. What I'm going to ask you to do is to leave Speaker's Corner now.
Is that the first request?
Yes, it's a request for you to leave.
Because of what?
Because of the COVID regulations, sir.
Why should I specifically
What's
leave
your valid
Speaker's
reason
Corner?
for leaving your home today?
My valid reason is to exercise my voice.
Sir, you have to leave Speaker's Corner. It's direction of a constable.
One is first, let me just. You asked me a valid reason.
Yeah.
I've given you a valid reason. Is that not valid according to you?
Under Royal Parks Open Spaces Act of 1997, I'm making a law of request of you to leave the Royal Park property.
So not under coronavirus
At
legislation.
the moment, it's under Royal Parks Open. I don't want to have to report you for any offences. I'm asking
I'm
you
just
to leave.
clarifying what grounds you're giving
I'm
me.
giving you a direction under Royal Parks Open
To leave
Spaces
the
Act
park.
of 1997 to now leave the park.
Because?
Of the Royal Park.
Yeah,
I don't need
because.
to read, sir. It's a reasonable reason.
Well, under the 1997 legislation, Royal Parks and Gardens Act, the Secretary of State outlined, in line with the 1872 legislation,
I'm not going to get into this.
that I have the right to speak at Speaker's Corner. I'm leaving the park.
Thank you, Mr. Khoo.
I am leaving.
Thank you, Dr. Khoo.
I am leaving peaceably. Please do not touch me. Please don't come within 2 metres of me.
Thank you, sir. That's fine.
Please do not come within 2 metres of me.
I won't.
I still didn't quite get what the legislation was, though. Royal Parks and Gardens Act, yeah?
Finished yet?
Why was? Did you spot the arrest last week? Just a question, because I want to report a criminal offence. 3 police officers last week violently attacked and assaulted a man by the name of Nicholas Scholes. I have got video evidence of that. I'd like to hand it to you. Can I do so, officer? Can you give me the details to hand you of a violent assault by 3 police officers last week at Speaker's Corner? I'd like to hand you that evidence. Have you seen it? Have you seen it, officers? This is the shortest route out. I'm going taking that, yeah? Did you see that criminal arrest last week? Thugs in uniform beating up innocent people and arresting mentally ill people with no grounds whatsoever. That's what you become. Thugs and criminals. I am now outside the Royal Park, am I not? Am I outside the Royal Park? Is that satisfied your request? Has this satisfied your request?
Go home, please, Dr. Khoo.
Go home because?
I'm asking you to.
That is not an instruction you can give me. You asked me to leave the park. You do not have the authority to demand I go home. You don't have that authority.
Exactly.
Or are you claiming you have that authority?
Go do some exercise, Dr. Khoo.
I am doing exercise. I'm exercising my voice. All human beings have vocal cords and are allowed to use them. It is the nature of man that we use our vocal cords and train them. As you know, I am a speaker who has been speaking in Hyde Park since 1986. Every Sunday I exercise my voice here. Right, I'm going to do a run.
say? What did he say? Because I didn't get it. He just said he's going to run off. Okay. Not sure where he's going. Sorry, but I don't know. What do you suggest? Because I've got no clue. That's all I did. Okay. Just have to wait for a minute. Okay. I don't even know how to switch it off. Hey, Lamin. How you doing? I've just seen it. I've seen it.
Someone's going to lose all the games.
I'll do that.
You'll be like
trying to get more police officers to come and arrest me. And then I absolutely no crime. All I've done is walk into the park, get confronted with the police, question what their arguments are. They couldn't sustain a logical or coherent argument, neither legal, ethical nor moral. And yet they continue to follow me to the gate and threaten to arrest me. So clearly we're dealing with the behaviour of a police state. Arbitrary power exercised by the police, changing at will with any justification they can invent, sucking it out of their thumb as to what sort of crime you're supposed to have committed. So basically they're just intimidating us illegally and harassing us to leave the park. Yet this is our park. We won it in 1872 by law. We have the right, for half of that park, we have the right to go and speak at any time. And of course the implication is, by the fact they came to me and singled me out, why didn't they go to anyone walking through the park? Anybody. Because surely if I'm talking to someone next to me as I walk along, I'm also speaking at Speaker's Corner. Anyone who talks when they're in that part of the park is speaking at Speaker's Corner. And therefore, just because my voice is louder at a particular moment, and I didn't say I was going to speak, they didn't ask me to speak quietly. They just said I must leave the park. So either there is a principle, no one can speak when they enter the area called Speaker's Corner, which seems to be what they're suggesting, which of course is a bizarre, Monty Python-esque absurdity.
And it looks like they may be coming out. I don't know. It looks like they're coming out. Potentially. Maybe
police are acting like criminals. They are saying it's not legal to speak in the park. Then arrest everyone who goes in the park and talks. Arrest them all. I don't see you doing that. I see you chasing me and others from Hyde Park alone. That is criminal harassment. I hope you show these videos to your mother, your children, your wife, your partner, to show what crooks you've been made into. Behaving like crooks, thinking like crooks, acting like crooks. It looks like a duck, sounds like a duck, is a duck. Why do you insist on standing less than 2 meters apart from each other? It's not just that everyone else mustn't do that, it's that you seem to think you must do that. Must have done you some favour to do that, didn't it? There are many other entrances to this park. You'll need thousands of police officers to stop us coming in. And what a waste of money. 6 of you standing there, waiting to harass me. What an utter and complete waste of money and waste of time. You're behaving like fools. And last week, as a consequence, you violently assaulted someone, and you will be charged with that criminal offence. The law is not specific to those you want to chase. You are acting like criminals. You are criminals, officers. You, when you support this behaviour. Goodbye.
I better leave.
God willing, I will do it again.
Okay. That's enough for today, I think.
God has looked down from his sanctuary.
Speak, brother,
Out of the
speak.
heaven did the Lord
You know,
behold
that's
the
what we
earth,
do.
that he
He's
might
Lord
hear the
God Almighty.
voice of
Great.
those in captivity,
Let him speak.
and
What's the
deliver
problem?
the children appointed to death. Do you realise that our children are appointed to death?
I may be 100% in disagreement with you.
Yes.
I may not.
Thank you. Yes, absolutely. Amen.
Imagine Jesus Christ serving
Yes.
them out. Arrest him.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Amen.
That's what we've got.
Yes.
Enough.
Thank you. And I've always appreciated your speeches.
Thank you.
Always.
Thank you. See you later, brother.
Our
Okay, that's
children
enough
are
for today.
appointed to death. And what are they doing? They're silencing anyone who speaks
Here.